Hello viewers, you are welcome again to my channel. My name is Farmer Tanto. I'm a grassroots environmental activist. I'm a farmer. Today, I am here in my village where I grew up with my grandmother. This is my village of origin called Taku. And I decided to come back to my roots to share with you my story, how I started my movement. You know, my grandmother took me when I was 5 years old. He took me from the city and I grew up with her when I was 5 years. For about 4 years, I lived with my grandmother. And that is how I started my agriculture and environmental movement. You know, coming back home after all these years, I feel so sad, like I'm almost about shedding tears because nobody lives again in the compound here. Everybody has gone. My grandmom is so old now, and she lives with my elder brother in another part of the town, not here in this village, in Cambe. That's where she is living now, with my elder brother. So I just came to start a movement from Taku to the world. You know, growing up in the village here, it was fun. It used to be fun. I remember that was around 1984, 83, 84 when I came to my village to stay with my grandmother. And I started a movement, my farming movement, you know, by planting. We used to harvest coffee and then nurse it when I was a little boy. Then interestingly, at the peak of the dry season, we used to go right to the water catchments, see how we could divert water from the stream to come right to the village so that we'll play with it and then we'll make blocks with it and all the like. So after having been away for all this while, man, I said home is home. You can never run away from your home. Viewers, this is where I used to live with my grandmom. That unfortunate, it is locked. And then we don't know where the key is, but we're going to find out where the key is. But however, this is where I lived with my grandmother for 4 years, you know. Inside there, we have my little bed, my bamboo bed. You have some of my clay pots that are there. So at some point when I get the key, I'm going to open the door and then, you know, so that you could see how I live with my grandmother. It's so sad that, you know, she became so old and, you know, we had to take her away from the village. But at some point, I'm going to travel to the town where she is so that you could see my grandmother. She's so dear to me because she's the one who started teaching me agriculture at a very young age. You know, I'm sitting on my father's grave. This is where my father was buried. You know, he died in 1996. And every time I come to the village, I always like to pay him my last respect because my father was the only person who understood my vision when I was growing up as a young boy. I told my father that I'm going to study agriculture and environment, and it would take me someday to America. And the first place I wanted to visit in the world was California. I wrote on the wall of my room, California, USA, 1996. And he gave me all the support that he could give me, you know. But 3 months later, he passed away. But he told me, if you believe in yourself, you're going to get to California. And 11 years later, after all the hard work, I was selected to represent Africa to study watersheds of the world. And the program started in America, guess where? California. And I went there 11 years later. So my father is so dear to me. He was buried here. And every time I'm here in the village, I always come to pay him my last respect. So that is why this movement that I'm coming up with from Taku to the world is making me to feel like I need to relocate back home to the village in some years to come. And that's why I'm encouraging everybody out, wherever you are, it's always good to come back to your roots because your roots is your cultural heritage. Wherever you come from, you need to remember your roots. So that's why I'm here to pay last respect to my dad. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Hello viewers, you see behind me, this is a heap of bananas. I planted these bananas when I was 8 years old. Interestingly, I never knew what came up into my mind. When my father came to take me from the village to go back to the city, I went and removed 3 banana suckers from a nearby farm and I came and planted them around here. And I told my grandmother that these bananas, I'm planting them for you. As I'm going to the city, when they grow big, you always sell these bananas so that you can have money to take care of yourself. And my grandmother started crying. So after so many years, the bananas are still there. She's been harvesting these bananas for over 30 years today. And this is actually where I started my agricultural movement when I was a little boy in my village. I remember when the writers came from America to research about my story, they met these bananas. Interestingly, my grandmother featured in the book, I Am Farmer, Growing an Environmental Movement in Cameroon. So now I'm coming back to my village because I want to relocate back at some point in the next 2, 3 to 5 years. I'll be relocating back to the village and I'll be starting a movement from Taku to the world. It is time we need to come back to our roots. The world needs to know where I came from, how I started my grassroots movement. I'll be doing a lot of developmental projects in the village as I'm growing up my YouTube channel. Every time I hit 100,000 subscribers, I will always come back to do something for a land, like a landmark in my village. Thank you so much for always coming back to this channel. Please keep on subscribing, keep on sharing. I am farmer. No farmer, no future. Peace and blessings.